I'm Chris Lee from VandySports.com. He's Sean Williams. He's our recruiting analyst at VandySports.com. Now that we've got some technical issues figured out and some common sense issues perhaps on my end, we are ready
More
to
so.
talk some football recruiting, and it has been an interesting summer, Sean. You have seen Vanderbilt go from, no commitments in the spring to 18 as things have just flown fast and furiously over the last few months. What's your impression of the class so far?
Yeah, I like it so far. I think it's kind of a blend, especially early on, of, I guess maybe players you would call reaches, I guess, just in terms of guys that didn't have a lot of Power 5 offers they got early on. Now, you can credit that to COVID and not being evaluated, things like that. But, I mean, things have really heated up, though, this summer. I mean, they got a ton of commitments in July. Like June was kind of like the month of visits and official visits, and July's kind of been the month of commitments. I'm sure that's probably definitely rings true for Vanderbilt and probably a lot of other programs as well. Just because June was the first time kids could go out and visit places, and they definitely took advantage of that. And yeah, but Vanderbilt's done a really good job. I mean, they've got 18 commitments so far. Their class is ranked 30th in the nation, so that's really good. And obviously, I mean, the last guy they flipped the Darren Agu kid from Notre Dame, the defensive end. So that was a big get for Vanderbilt in that regard.
Let's talk about class size and ranking. Right now, as you said, Vanderbilt 30. It has 18 commitments. As we do this on Friday, what is this, July the 30th? And so things change in recruiting left and right. Who knows, by the time people hear this, may be more commitments. But let's talk about the composition of the class, the ratings, the size. Right now, how far away are they from being finished?
Good question. That's always like the $1,000,000 question, I believe. A lot of people ask, and really the answer is going to be, originally I thought it would be around 21 or so. They're going to look for, right now, as you can kind of see, the 18 total commitments right now, ranked 30th overall in the Rivals.com rankings. And just to kind of give you a comparison here, show you guys of course, originally when Agu committed, Vanderbilt was ranked 27, so they were ranked a little bit higher. Of course, like you said, Chris, things always change in recruiting. So here we go. All teams, I'll go down to SEC. They were ranked 9th. I think they still are. They might have dropped down a little bit, though. Now my internet's like deciding to be slow while we broadcast this. Yeah, Vanderbilt's ranked 10th right now in the SEC. So.
Well, and let's talk about that, right? Vanderbilt probably going to drop a little bit from 30, I would expect. The reason is that the class is all 3 and 2 stars, and so it's hard to finish in the top 30 with those numbers unless several kids get changed to 4s. And, of course, they'll add some. You never know. They may add some 4s there. But that brings on another interesting question. I think the ratings probably have been harder to do than they've ever been, just with the COVID stuff from last year, limiting observations in the spring and summer, and of course in the fall. That continued on, and still does probably in some places. But point being, they'll probably drop a little bit, but it's hard to know how much stock to put in the ratings. And it does seem like they have been getting the benefit of the doubt, maybe for the first time in a while, because of Barton Simmons. He's done this as a talent evaluator. I think people tend to look at this and say, okay, if Barton likes the kid, there's probably something we need to take a look at. So a lot of dynamics in the ratings that make this an interesting class in terms of how you size it up.
Right, exactly. And, coming off a year where none of these kids got evaluated, and so it's definitely hard. And you see a lot of these kids, they, some of them worked out, some of them didn't for the staffs and everything. So yeah, it's definitely a hard thing to kind of rate kids at the moment. I mean, especially coming off last year, and a lot of kids don't have a lot of game film, very minimum. Some kids didn't play, in certain states, didn't play ball. So Yeah, definitely a different dynamic this year in terms of ranking kids. So it's like with any other recruiting class. We'll kind of see whatever the rankings are, whatever Vanderbilt ends up. I mean, the real rankings kind of come out 2 or 3 years down the road when they're in college, and we'll kind of make that determination of how good of college players they really are 2 or 3 years down the road once they're in college, and you can go kind of compare that to how they were ranked out of high school. So that's really the real rankings anyway. So.
Well, as they finish this class, just give us a rundown on who they're looking at potentially, what you're expecting in terms of positions, anything like that that illustrates what it might look like as they complete this class down the line.
Yeah, right now, I mean, they're at 18 commitments. Like I said, I originally thought it'd be 21. It may go up further than that, obviously. I mean, I know they just updated the rosters, and there's some people missing from the roster, so that might open up some scholarship spots as well. But just to kind of run down, this is an article I did recently, and I kind of spruced it up a little bit yesterday. Just kind of seeing what all they would take from here on out in terms of as far as what we know right now, and obviously that can always change with attrition, etc. So offensive line, they've got 2 commitments right now: Levi Harper, David Siegel. Those are guys they picked up in July. They came in for official visits. They're pretty comfortable. I mean, they're really comfortable with those 2, but if they were to take another offensive lineman, Grayson Morgan's kind of one of their top remaining guys. So with Grayson, I think he's going to take, or at least he's going to plan to take an official visit in the fall. He's been on campus. He was on campus at least twice in June. He came up for the Commodore Cookout, and he was on campus during one of their, I think their first elite camp in June. He was hanging out. The coaches were paying him a lot of attention, so you can tell he's a top guy for them. So if they're going to grab another offensive lineman in this class, it's going to be Grayson Morgan. He's kind of their top guy, obviously an NBA guy. So Coach Lee, Barton Simmons, they're NBA guys, so there's that connection there. Just kind of going down offensive-wise, they have a running back commitment in Maurice Edwards, and Maurice Edwards was right there. He was a kid that came down for an elite camp, really showed his stuff, impressed the staff, got an offer, and he kind of just came back the next weekend for an official visit and ended up committing. So Vanderbilt's looking to take another running back to go along with Edwards, and these are kind of their options right now. Obviously, they just missed out on Xavier Townsend, who came in for an official last month. He committed to Iowa State. Darian Murphy's still out there. I think he's going to commit sometime tomorrow. He came in for an official, but I think the interest has kind of dwindled between Vanderbilt and him, so haven't got a lot of feedback from him in terms of post-visit or anything like that. But now, in doing that, Chase Gillespie is a guy that they just offered earlier this week. He's a guy that came in for a camp last month, really impressed. I was super impressed with him. He was at their first elite camp. And I was actually surprised that Vanderbilt didn't offer him, but obviously they had some other targets they were kind of keying in on, and they kind of missed out on, obviously. So they ended up offering Chase Gillespie earlier this week, so he's a new target to really keep an eye on for 2 reasons, really. He really likes Vanderbilt. I know he told me he likes that they have a good business program. That's what he really wants to major in. Really had a great time when he was at their camp, really vibed well with the coaching staff. Plus, he's also a teammate of Vanderbilt linebacker commit Bryce Cohen, who also came in and camped last month and got an offer, ended up committing. So there's a teammate connection there between Gillespie and Cohen. Well, moving on, wide receiver-wise, I think Vanderbilt's going to take one more. And right now, it's kind of these options right now. All 3 of these guys, Reuben, Evans, and Ayo Manor, they all took official visits last month to Vanderbilt. They're looking to add some size to that other wide receiver spot. They got KD Hutchison committed right down here. That was a big get for them just because he's kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. He can line up in the slot, super speedy. You can kind of, hand the ball off to him on jet sweeps, things like that. So it seems like Vanderbilt's kind of looking for a little bit of a taller option. And I think Amari Evans, even though he's a little bit smaller guy and kind of comparable to Hutchison, I think he's maybe still in the mix. I saw where Drew Dickey was kind of working out. Drew Dickey, Vanderbilt's quarterback commit, was working out with him the other day. But things were looking good with Medea Rubin whenever he came in. But then Stanford ended up offering him earlier in July. So I know when I talked to him before his Vanderbilt official, Stanford was talking to him a lot. So they ended up offering him. He just released the top 5 a while ago, and he had Stanford, Vanderbilt in there. So I think those are kind of like his top 2 schools, but I think he's going to take an official to Stanford. And I think kind of things are trending in Stanford's direction. As far as your manner is concerned, it was a pretty good get for Vanderbilt to get him on campus, but right before he visited Vanderbilt, he picked up an offer from Notre Dame after camping there. Seems like he really likes Notre Dame. I think he's a take there. It seems to be kind of the way he's leaning. So, this could be a situation where I think you monitor these 3 guys, but I think Vanderbilt's probably going to, also evaluate guys throughout the fall and maybe, extend some new offers in that regard. So, moving on, defensive line, they'll probably take 1 or 2 more guys. And that's to go along with Darren Agu, Linus Sunk, and Dorian Gates, who are kind of edge rusher type guys. So they're kind of, with those 3 guys being edge rushers, looks like Vanderbilt's more targeting defensive tackle type guys. Obviously, they've kind of extended recent offers to Anthony Lucas and Hero Canoe. Obviously, both are highly rated guys. They've got a lot of options. I don't know if Vanderbilt's going to be able to play catch-up, but just because they're top-level guys, and Lucas has already taken all 5 of his official visits. I think he's going to take a few more visits in the fall. Hero Canoe is going to be like an Ohio State, Notre Dame kind of guy. I think that's going to be I think he's got an official visit with Oklahoma in the fall as well. So I think you'll probably see some new offers coming out there. Duralje, he just released the top 5, but I think it seems to be more maybe trending toward, they ended up at South Carolina, maybe Kentucky. So we'll see what happens there. Just in terms of linebacker, maybe take 1 more in the class. Obviously, the big one is Daniel Martin. He's another guy that was on campus multiple times in June. Came in for the Commodore Cookout, and he returned for an official visit the last weekend in June. I think they'll definitely hold a spot open for him regardless. He's definitely one of their top remaining targets, like Grayson Morgan. So, also a guy to keep an eye on is Tyler Banks as well. He just released the top 7, had Vanderbilt in it. Obviously took an official visit with the Commodores last month as well. So, and to continue on, I mean, Vanderbilt, here's the thing, defensive back, Vanderbilt really had a hot streak in July, and they ended up getting 4 commitments in the defensive backfield in July, and that included the following right there: Miguel Mitchell out of Oxford, Alabama, Kenzie Paul out of Macaulay, of course he's from Canada, and Caleb Coley, and Stephen Sani Enola, I hope I'm saying his last name right. So really racked up on defensive backs in July. Thought they were done, but Quantavis Gaskins is a guy that camped at Vanderbilt in June, picked up an offer, and he also camped at some other places, picked up a lot of Power 5 offers in June. He's kind of an emerging guy and hit the camp scene pretty hard. And he returned to West End earlier this week, and from everything I talked to him, everything sounds like he's trending toward Vanderbilt, it just seems. And I know he was planning to get to Missouri, but I think that visit's kind of gone by the wayside, and I think Georgia Tech is maybe out of the mix a little bit too. So Gaskins is definitely one to keep an eye on as well. And like we were talking about, Chris, before we hit record, Caleb Coley is another one to keep an eye on. He committed early in July, but he just picked up a Georgia offer recently, and he's going to Georgia on Saturday. So he's a possible guy that could possibly flip out of the class if Georgia really wants him. So that's something to monitor going forward. So that's kind of a rundown of of what's left for Vanderbilt in this class, at least right now. And everything can change because of attrition, but I'm thinking 22, 23 spots total.
Let's talk about, and I'm going to ask you what you know is my favorite recruiting question, and I say that very sarcastically. Who do you think of these guys has the best chance to make a quick impact? And by who, I don't mean like one guy, but give me your best 3, 4, 5, whatever you feel most strongly about. I mean, I have tried that exercise and failed so many times. Perhaps you're better than I am, but who are the guys to you that you think have the best chance to make a quick impact once they get to campus?
It's always a great question. I mean, I think you kind of look at Vanderbilt's weakness right now, and I think that's definitely the secondary, and maybe possibly linebacker as well. But I think with secondary guys, you kind of look at guys like Miguel Mitchell. I like Mitchell just because of his size, and he can play different positions. He can play safety, he can play corner. He said he can possibly play linebacker. So I think he'll be a versatile guy to really help out the secondary next year, and can make an immediate impact as well. I mean, I think in terms of depth, you can always look at running backs. I know Maurice.
You can definitely look at running back. Having been in practice,
yeah,
in the workouts last week. I mean, I'm thinking this team has got a lot of needs, but that's one that I think is pretty pressing.
Yeah,
because right now they've got, if Javian Marlowe's gone, they've got
4.
one guy that you can be excited about, and after that, it's who knows.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Maurice Edwards, I mean, and then whoever else decides to come in at running back, whoever other commitment they get, I mean, they have ample opportunity to come in and make an impact right away. And whether it's backing up Ramon Evans, whatever, but I mean, you definitely got a big chance to earn some carries and make some progress in that offense. So, but yeah, I think a guy like that, and I'll point out, even though he's a little undersized, KD Hutchison, the wide receiver commit, I mean, he's got a lot of speed, and it seems like David Ra's gonna utilize guys' speed and get guys that can make plays with the ball in their hands and get them in open space and try to get them the ball and make plays. So I think he's a guy that could probably come in and make an impact right away with the wide receiver turnover next year. And I like another Alabama guy I like that's committed is BJ Diokite. He committed early. He's listed as a tight end, but obviously Vanderbilt likes him as kind of an outside linebacker, edge rusher, and obviously 6'4", 210 pounds. He's long. He's can do a lot of things. So he's a guy I like as well, just because he's versatile too. He's a really good tight end, but he's also a really good defender as well and an edge rusher. So those are the kind of the guys I like in the recruiting class so far.
Yeah, let's talk KD Hutchison for a second. Someone put a video on our site of him dunking a basketball, which was pretty incredible given his height. That kid just looks like he's a premier athlete, and God knows they need a lot of that right now.
Right, yeah. I mean, to do the things he does, I mean, obviously he's 5'8", and I think that was kind of a crutch in his recruiting process, and I think that's one of the reasons why he really appreciated Vanderbilt and the way they recruited him, because they didn't really see that as a crutch. I mean, I think, and you kind of look at Vanderbilt, what they're kind of trending towards and their commitments. One of the main things you kind of see in a lot of these guys is their speed. Not just on offense, but on defense. The DBs, the linebackers. I mean, they all have some speed, and I think that's something that was severely lacking on the roster these past few years. And I think this coaching staff says, hey man, we got to get faster. And Hutchison definitely brings that. And I mean, just to do the things he does to dunk a basketball, and at 5'8", and I know his high school head coach says, he does the best job of going up and high pointing balls better than the taller receivers on the team. So, if he can do things like that, I mean, he'll definitely be able to see the field pretty early.
Let's hit a mailbag question before we get you out of here.
Let's do it.
Our mailbag is sponsored by Sutherland & Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If your loved one has been hurt in an accident, Give Taylor or Russell a call. That number 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. All right, here's one. What are the best chances to fill out the recruiting class? I think to rephrase the question, what are the players who you feel they have the best chance at getting? I know we ran down a lot of targets, but if you had to narrow that to maybe 2 or 3, who do you pick?
Grayson Morgan, Chase Gillespie. Just because those guys have already been on campus. Obviously Morgan's, right down the road. Gillespie's already been on campus. His teammates committed there. Yeah, and I mean, everything's trending toward Quantavis Gaskins, who they call Gumbo, which that's a cool nickname to always have when you're when you're coming in. But I mean, he's trending well, and obviously he made that return visit to Vanderbilt earlier this week. So I mean, I think those are 3 guys that definitely are trending in the right direction for Vanderbilt for sure.
Let me see if I can grab another one here. There was one more that I wanted to get to, and I just have to find it here. So
no, you're good. I can talk and while you find, but yeah, I mean.
Oh, here it is. This is from Vandy Guy 20. The other one was from VU 65.
Okay.
Who's your favorite football commit so far in this class?
Man, I'm hard to tell. I mean, I probably got to go back to Miguel Mitchell, just cause I really like the kid. He's very easy to talk to. He responds to you really well. But I just like his size, and his versatility. He can do a lot of different things. And it'd be interesting to see if he. I think he'll definitely start in the defensive backfield. Whether that's safety, whether that's corner, I don't know. I mean, he can play either or. He can also probably bulk up and be a linebacker if they really need him to be that. So I mean, he can do a lot of different things. And he's, you look at his highlight film, and he's a hard hitter too. He's not afraid to lower the shoulder and get in there and make some hits. So I think he's going to be a really good playmaker for them.
Yeah, he's at a weight where he's got some athleticism, but he's also, with his frame, he's got the potential to go different directions, which I kind of like out of a high school kid, because you could bulk him up and make him a bigger linebacker or a safety or like whatever you want to do with the kid. I think that his height and weight and athleticism give you that combo to where you probably have some flexibility.
Right. And you got like Steven Sonny Neola. I mean, he's going to be a free safety for sure, a safety type player. But Miguel Mitchell can kind of be a little bit of, whatever you want him to be. I think he's that versatile. I mean, to have a 6'3", 210-pound frame, I mean, you can do a lot of different things with him whenever he gets on campus, wherever you want him. So.
Well, Sean, that wraps up the mailbag. Any parting thoughts before we end the show today?
No, I hope the video went well. Me and Cheston have done this, and now I'm getting Chris Lee on board here. So hopefully we did a good job for everybody. In the
you have dragged me into 2021.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to spruce up the YouTube channel moving forward and do different things like this, which is always fun. But yeah, I mean, I think overall thoughts on the class. I mean, really good and really good class so far, and I mean, they're doing a good job. Look, Barton's doing a good job of finding these guys that are, look, some of them, yeah, you can say they're under the radar, but they find them and they like their film and they go after them right away. I mean, and it always harken back to Clark Lee's. It was one of his first. I don't think it was a press conference, but one of his first interviews. Somebody asked him about recruiting, and he said, "Hey, look, we're not worried about star rankings, stuff like that. We're worried about players that can fit in our system and excel here." So, I mean, I think those are guys that they're trying to find, and they've done a good job of it. And, I mean, I think kind of like the bookend of the class. I mean, you think about their first commitment was Langston Patterson, out of CPA, the linebacker. So that was a really good get. And, I mean, Clark Lee's had a really good relationship with him when he was at Notre Dame. And then, the last commitment they've got, Darren Agu. I mean, he's got a lot of offers from a lot of high profile places, and he was committed to Notre Dame, and they were able to kind of flip him. So, I mean, that's pretty solid bookend commitments right there in the class.
Well, Sean, thanks for all you do. In case folks are wondering, no, you don't get it all here on the podcast or the YouTube channel. Sean adds a lot of information and insight behind the scenes in our War Room message board. So folks are out there, they really need to subscribe to VandySports.com. It's $9.95 a month. or $99 a year. You get a lot of bang for your buck. We keep you updated on everything. We're dropping scoop on there all the time, things you don't get on the podcast. I know we bring you a lot of things here on our other media channels, but there's a lot that Sean adds to the experience at the War Room, and certainly keeps you updated. I mean, the world of recruiting, Sean, you know the way it goes. As we're doing this, there may have been a commitment, a decommitment, something like that. It is always changing, and I think that's a lot of the value in the War Room and a lot of what you bring to it as well.
Yeah, I hope there hasn't been a decommitment or commitment while we've been doing this. But yeah, that's recruiting though. It always changes and everything. So yeah, we're always dropping scoop on the Commodore War Room. So feel free to sign up. And Chris, I'm surprised you haven't told them about the $9.95 a day plan. I mean, that's even better.
Yeah. The $9.95 a day plan. That's a top. That's a closely guarded secret over at Mandy Sports.
Yeah, you gotta have a secret decoder to get into that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our sponsors, Sutherland & Belk and Jody Jones DDS. This has been one of our few episodes we've done on YouTube of late. I think you'll see a lot more of those. But anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see folks again soon.